folks, we ain't what we used to be, ain't what we used to be, ain't what we used to be. We old folks, we ain't what we used to be many long years ago. Goodness sakes, I'm just so tired of some of my women friends saying it's my 29th birthday. And I look at them and think, well, if you're 29, you're looking pretty sick. So why are we lying about our age? I'm 75. I have 75 years of experience, skill, training, knowledge, connections. Let's embrace that we're older. Who decided that the word old was bad? Who decided that wrinkles were ugly? Who decided that 19-year-olds would model wrinkle cream? The world has got silly about their fear of getting old. And yet there is much we can embrace about being older, and there is much we can do to take care of ourselves. And yes, we old folks, we ain't what we used to be. And I've got some proof here for you. I just love showing this. Whoops, I need to just do this first. There's the younger me. I'm about 16 or 17 years old there, and I decided I would put Sunlight soap in my hair to bleach it, and it went red. It didn't go blonde like I planned. It was a huge embarrassment. I wore a hat most of the days I went to high school. So you might remember your high school days and whether they were happy times or whether they were painful times. And whoops, back here. This was supposed to be nice and slick. Let's try this. There's a younger picture. There's my hubby and me. Look at the beautiful smile on his face that he has snatched up this 21-year-old. We kissed when we were 17. I want you to remember your first kiss, way you used to be. Here we're older and we really don't care whether we kiss or not after 54 years of marriage, but we do know that we enjoy a meal together. And here's our younger family. Notice the smile on my hubby's face is gone. Well, the first child was planned. That's Benjamin. That's the little blonde. The second one was adopted. That's Kelly. And the third one was, Les, our birth control didn't work. So if you happen to be a parent, a grandparent, or a great grandparent, as my hubby and I are now, you know, what are some of the birth stories in your family? And here we are older. Here's the older children. The 4 children are there, plus a son-in-law. So I want you to, just give a moment now and then to go down your memory lane about the younger years and the older years and the in-between years. And now when we're in the older years, here we are, tips on aging. What do we start with? Care for your vintage body. This body is going to take us to the end, whatever that ends up being, a year from now or 5 years. My husband 10 years ago was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he's doing very well. 1 out of 6 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and many of them live to a ripe old age. He's managing it well, and he takes very good care of his body, some days better than me. But what are some tips here that we can be reminded of? I'm going to first start with a quiz. And if you are able to type in the chat box, there's a little quiz, see how you do. People 65 or plus who live with some kind of pain. What's your guess? And Maureen, you can just, we'll just wait to the count of about 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 20. And let me know whether it's door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, that people think that people 65 years of age and older live with some kind of pain. Is it 10%? Is it 22% or 35%? Is it door number 1, 2, or 3? What's showing up, Maureen?
Most are saying number 3.
All right. Yes, bingo. Give yourself a little score. Yes, you knew that. Great. These are from, I believe, Stats Canada. People 65 plus who have vision loss. Quite a few of us wearing glasses. And what's your guess? Door number 1, 2, or 3. We'll just give it a few seconds, and then Maureen will tell us what the majority are saying. You're doing very well reporting, Maureen.
Thank you. We've got a mix of 2s and 3s, mostly 3s.
Yes. So it's 75% of people do get your eyes checked, at least every other year. And it's important. My daughter actually at the age of 53 had a spell at work where she became dizzy, and it had to do with she was straining her eyes. And so we want to take care of our vision. People 65 plus who have hearing loss. Oh my goodness, look at there.
You gave away the answer.
I gave away the answer. So, if I can have everybody just give me a clap and say, Patricia, it's okay to make mistakes, I got to slide backwards. All right. So yes, here's the interesting piece. People 65 plus, almost half of us have hearing loss. And over 71, as this slide indicates, that goes up to almost two-thirds of us. That's a lot of people with hearing loss. But now let me just see if my mistake shows up again. No, it doesn't. Here's a very interesting statistic. Out of the people that have hearing loss and go and get a hearing test, see these little babies? Let me just see, we'll put it up here. Yeah. I've had these for 5 years, my hearing aids. 88% of people do not wear them as they should. I have a friend, Harry, and I said to Harry, you keep saying, what'd you say? I can't hear you. And I said, Harry, you need to go and get a hearing test. Harry said to me, Patricia, I don't want a hairy chest. I said, oh, you definitely need to go. How did I know I needed to go? I kept asking my husband to put the volume on the TV up higher and higher and higher, and it was getting uncomfortable for him. And I said to him one day, Les, did you say I love you, Pat, or did you say I love your fat? Woo! He doesn't want to insult me, but that's what I heard. So I went and had my hearing tested. And most audiologists will provide a free hearing test, and it's very important to take care of our hearing. Loss of hearing is connected to isolating ourselves. And when we spend too much time by ourselves, because we're not picking up on the conversation, we can put ourselves in a position of increasing dementia by 30%. It's scary, regardless of friend Harry not wanting a hairy chest. So take care of your hearing, and I want you to take care of your body. Now, if you're able to, Maureen, you can either do this sitting or standing. We're going to just do 30-second quickies. The Canadian Institute of Stress determined that if we spend 30 seconds a couple times a day on a stressful day, maybe every hour, just checking in with our body and seeing what kind of attention it needs. So I'm going to invite you, Maureen, and our guests to take your shoulders and squeeze your ears. Did you know that we carry responsibility in our shoulders? So take in a deep breath and let the shoulders drop as the exhale goes out of your body. Here's a quick other one. Take your toes and curl them. Curl your toes. Curl your toes, whether you're in shoes or your bare feet, and then let them go. Push your heels into the ground, tight, 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 and let them go. These feet carrying us around all day. I want you to give your body a hug, tight, 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 tight. Now look down and check if you're hugging somebody you like. I think so, okay. And then let go, and then do it the other way, Tight, 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 and let go. It's important to look after our posture. See if you can reach the ceiling, whether you're in a chair or whether you're standing, tight, 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 and then let it go. 30 seconds or less, and you can take care of your body. Just notice a little bit more energy, a little more tingling that's going on pulsing through your nervous system and your veins and your blood. Are you noticing a little oxygenation, Maureen? Right? Yeah. All right. Now we're going to move to another point about be kind to your mind. We need to keep our minds active. It's a risk when people retire. You can retire from work, but do not retire from looking after your body, looking after your mind. How do we do that? Well, we've had to do some of the tricks I'm going to share with you even more during COVID, because during COVID, there were a lot of people that were having some really unhelpful, and we're still having to deal with COVID, unhelpful thoughts that chatter in our brain. There's been so much divisiveness about different people's thoughts and if you have a thought often enough, it becomes a belief. So we want to make sure that we're taking good care of our neurons, of our thoughts and our beliefs. And we also want to make sure that we have what's called cognitive reserve. And there's a bit of controversy about cognitive reserve, but it basically means to slow down cognitive aging. Means that the brain is not as fast or as clear or focused, and reducing the risk of dementia. And there's a fair bit of research that's been put into this cognitive reserve concept. And three different ways to look after cognitive reserve. And the first is creativity. And creativity, we're all creative. We all have a creative genius, and that is creating. Each year as we get older, we may need to create a different pattern in our life, a different way of being. We might need to spend more time taking care of our vintage body. I remember my mother saying, which is about 87, she says, "Oh, honey, it takes me half the day to get up for the day and the other half of the day to get ready to go back to bed," because she had so many appointments and taking care of her body. So build in some creativity when you can, and learning to keep your brain very active. Sudoku, playing any kind of game such as euchre or bridge. Some people play mahjong. And it's recommended, if you really want to up your brain cells, is to learn something new. I love learning about new technology, and I love singing, learning a new song. Learning a new language is a common one, as well as learning an instrument. Now I'm going to take a little risk here, Maureen. I have been trying to learn to play the ukulele. Let's see how this goes. And this is all in the cause. I am taking this big risk in the name of modeling learning. So let me just see if I can do this. We old folks, we ain't what we used to be. Ain't what we used to be. Ain't what we used to be. We old folks, we ain't what we used to be. Many long years ago. Woo!
Very good.
Oh yeah, I hope everybody's clapping at that big performance. The point is not how I sing or how I play. The point is about continual learning, and not to get so hung up about, hopefully at this age and stage, we're not so worried about what other people think about us, or whether most people are laughing with me, not at me. And let's get really curious about some of those thoughts I was talking about. Curious. Let's get curious about some of our own thinking. Sometimes we need to step back and take a look. Oh, I want you to choose one thought that you've either heard older people saying, or you have thought yourself. And I'm going to give you some samples. And you're going to take if you've got a piece of paper handy, I recommend you take a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, otherwise known as a writing tool, and write down your chosen thought that you find isn't serving you. So I'm going to ask Maureen to read some of the thoughts that I've heard older people say. Whoop.
Other people do better than me.
Yeah, they're coping better, they're out better, they're, better, better, better. Yeah. So they're comparing, and comparing is not useful. What's useful is comparing where you used to be to where you are now. I have much more patience. I'm calmer. I don't take things so personally. So that's a comparison that's somewhat useful. And I can also compare where I am now, where I would like to be when I'm 80, what I'd like to, and I've got a couple wonderful 80-year-old role models of how I would like to be when I'm 80. Here's another one I hear.
I should cope better.
You are coping the way you're coping. And if you want to cope better, then reach out, ask your family doctor, ask your friends, ask staff that are involved. If you are in a senior residence or a living residence such as Sienna, then if you want to cope better, then reach out, right? And the should, oh goodness, quit shoulding on yourself, quit shoulding on other people. And I hope you're not masturbating, must. Let's do another one.
Pam also added in, if you want to have another one that she hears.
Yes.
The comment, well, you are getting old.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. And you are getting old. And my answer is yes. And what's your point? There is nothing wrong with being old. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. We value our old vintage cars, don't we? Yeah. I hope you're reminding me because old is to be treasured. Okay, here's a little humor.
Nobody wants to listen to an old person.
Yeah, you know what? You can end up with fart, old woman, old man, old grumpy man, whatever. This is all or nothing thinking. Yes, my children are not interested in listening to me, but you know what? I have found many other people do. Yeah, you just have to find the right people, the right place. Excuse me, just my hair sticking up like I don't like. Okay, there we go. You'll love this one.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Baloney. And I'm not a dog, by the way. I've got a bigger brain than our grand dog.
I cannot bear another loss.
Tell that to the people in Ukraine, right? Loss is part of being alive. And the older you live, the more you're going to have. I mean, I'm starting to have people in my life, more funerals. And I just this morning before I got on for this call, a daughter of a friend called to say she would like to see you in the hospice. And so I have a date for next week to visit and so that's becoming more frequent. That's just, what? That's a blank one. Okay, we don't blank. We want to blank mind sometimes. Here we go.
I don't have much to offer.
Oh my goodness, that is a dangerous thought. Think about all the years of wisdom that you have developed, the experiences, the connections, the knowing. And there are so many people, which I'll talk about a little bit later, that could benefit from connection with you. And here we go.
I'm too old to
fill in the blank. Use technology. Jump out of a plane, skydive, bungee jump. There's so many people that say, oh, I'm too old to wear that. If you like it and it brings you joy, I'm too old to dress up.
Donna says, I'm too old to ever be old.
Okay, I love the sense of humor. All right, so I hope you've written down some of the thoughts that you have either about some of the restrictions that we've experienced or some of the divisiveness that's been going on because of COVID, and or a thought that you'd like to shift that has to do with getting older. We want to have resilient aging. And here are 3 questions to ask yourself about that thought. Does this thought positively serve me, my loved ones, and the world? Does it serve me? Does it serve any purpose? Number 2, what will be the consequence if I keep thinking this thought? Really, you're creating barriers. And what do I want to think? I'm older, I'm vital, I'm got energy, I've got wisdom, I've got experience, I've got knowledge, I have beautiful connections, I have a family that loves, I'm loved, and I love. Now, Maureen, since I can't hear people on the webinar, I'm going to ask you, please, would you say this out loud for me? There's 3 words there.
Wisdom is nowhere.
Right. And some people are reading wisdom is now here. So you get this has not been researched. This isn't a research process that wisdom is nowhere or wisdom is now here. What it is an example of people tend to look through the lens of either optimism or pessimism. And Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, found that people with an optimistic perspective lived longer, had more vitality, flourished, took more risks, and had more friends. So there are lots of reasons for us to be optimistic. So the optimist says when things go poorly, oh, that's just a fluke. The pessimist, when things go poorly, says, you see, that's the way the world is. Oh, it's a total kind of switch. So it was the optimist that created the airplane. It was the pessimist that created the parachute. It was the optimist that invented the car. It was the pessimist that, decided it needed a brake. So we need both. But if you're going to err, do err on the side of optimism. Now, I know that there are some smokers that say they use optimism not in a good way. They'll say, oh, this cigarette won't kill me. This cigarette won't kill me. And it is causing harm to your lungs. It is. So we need to temper it. So we do need a little bit of criticism and pessimism in the world, but optimism wins out when it comes to overall health. And this is a researcher, Sean Anker, Harvard University, who did research. His book is called The Happiness Advantage. And in that book is this quotation: your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. As a therapist, when I have a client say that they want to stop yelling at their children, for example, I turn that into a positive. I say, how do you want to be with your children? What is it you want? Because just putting stop on something doesn't transform a pattern. So you want to think about that with your brain as well. You can catch the negative. I had a negative loop for many, many years. As a child, my dad called me and my mom the stupid females. And I failed grade 7 and I dropped out of high school with that very bad negative loop. And then I started to know about Howard, what's his name? Oh God, Howard. It's called the Howard. It's the different learning styles. So I have a creative and experiential learning style. And that helped me. I don't have a type of learning that is very quick with memory or math or science. Those are very difficult for me in the learning modalities. So if we can take our lines that we're saying in the negative, and when you have somebody speaking to you in the negative too, like, you're old, yes, I am old. And what a joy it is to be alive, because, I had a friend who died when she was 32. That was hard. I'm glad to be old. So anytime you can do that, that's a really good thing for your brain and other people's brain. Now, the next point is about hanging out with younger and older. We need older role models to lead the way, to give us some horizon to aim for. Excuse me, I'm just going to blow my nose. For 12 years, I facilitated a speaker school. And I was thrilled. If you take a look at these people in these pictures, there's all different ages, all of them learning to become articulate in delivering their message. And it was an honor to be a mentor to these people that wanted to speak. And so older and younger people have a different experience than older people. Their memories are different. Their memories are younger. Older people have much more experience and knowledge. Younger people often see more possibilities, are keen to explore the world. Maybe we've seen parts of the world we don't want to go to again. And here was one of my mentors, Gwendolyn Jansma, was still doing heart-seat gatherings of 100 to 120 people in her 80s. She was a shaman and psychologist. There I was in my younger years, right there being hugged. And here's another way that I hang out with younger. I have two women. This is Gannett. This is one of them. Gannett is from Ethiopia, and she calls me her Canadian mummy. And all she wants is a listening ear. You know, I don't know anybody that doesn't have two ears. Most people have two ears. You might be a burn victim and kind of be missing the shape, but you can still hear. And most people want to be heard, to be seen. What a gift you can give, and just to be told you're okay. And sometimes I'll give her a little hint about how it works in Canada, right? And so I love it that she calls me speaker mommy. It's like having another kid without all the work. So be open. You may, if you're in a senior living program, maybe you're lucky enough to be at Sienna, you may find that one of the staff people is from a different country, and maybe you are able just to listen as if a mother would listen with caring ears, or a father. Here's an interesting process that you might want to do, and that is to take some photographs and make a collage of your social circle. It's very important to keep up connection. Do you know, during the lockdowns of COVID, there was great concern for certain demographics, especially for seniors being isolated, that it's not good for them. And certainly people that have lost their spouse often are feeling lonely, or single older people often are lonely. And in 1919, a woman by the name of Julianne Holst Lundstedt released a 10-year research project that said loneliness was a new pandemic before the real pandemic came along, when she talked about the mental illness that comes from being isolated and not being connected. And connection is a prerequisite for our mental health. So make sure that you have some connections. And you can even do that over the phone, now with technology, Zoom, texting, all different ways to connect. And of course, in person is probably the best. It is the best, but we do have fill-in ways to handle loneliness. Now, here's another little test for you, a little quiz. Isolation increases risk of dementia. This is from Holt Lundstedt's research, I believe. Next slide should tell. And what's your guess? Door number 1, 2, or 3? 27%, 39%, or 58%?
Overwhelmingly, door number 3.
All right, there we go. Well, I won't call you a pessimist, but still, we want to watch that. Yeah, I think I gave away the clue earlier by saying it's 30%. If you find yourself not having enough conversations. So when my hubby retired, he didn't want to do anything. He had a very responsible job, and he wanted just his own time, his own space. And he tends to be an introverted preference. And after about a year and a half, he started to show signs of dementia. And by the way, if I tell stories about my family, they've given me permission. He started to show memory issues and other signs of dementia. And he went to see a specialist, a nurse specialist in older people, yes, older people. And she said to him, you are eating properly, you're getting enough exercise, you are, you're reading, but you are not social enough. And he joined Rotary. And after about 4 months of going to meetings at Rotary, his symptoms disappeared. And to this day, he retired about 10 years ago. To this day, he's functioning quite highly, and he's actually on the board of his Rotary. And at Sienna Senior Living, you have an opportunity to connect with other people. That's one of the benefits of being in a community of older people. And certainly invite younger people into your life by getting involved in the community if you can, or staying connected to family and friends. And if you're not in a senior residence and you're in a community, do allow yourself to become the old people on the street. So we have 2 neighbors on either side, and they bring us food. They bake a cake and they'll bring us 2 little slices, and it's just delightful. And what's beautiful, even more, of them bringing us the food or shoveling our sidewalk, is they will come to us and ask to borrow things like a cup of sugar, or they will come to us and ask for advice. What would you do about this or that? The important thing is that measuring how much a person would like to be alone and how much they want to be connected. So I don't know about you, but we have in our little family circle, we have a cat and a dog. We have a grand dog, woof, 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 and whoop, no, wrong one, woof, 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 woof. And we have a pussy cat that we adopted in November. Now the cat wants much more alone time, and the dog wants much more playtime and connection. So we want to honor what the connection that people want and the alone time they want. Many dogs just keen for that connection, that petting. Another benefit of older and younger and connection is the hormone oxytocin, is the feel-good hormone. It's the hormone that gets generated by touch. And it's the hormone that allows mothers to let the milk flow for their baby when they're nursing. And it comes through all kinds of different tactile touch. And I'm just going to show you here just a few ideas about getting your touching needs met. That's our grand dog. Yeah. And, if you don't have a cuddly of some sort, consider getting it. And yeah, there's one of my cuddlies right there. So, all right, this was at Chapters, and I just my hand touched this little darling, and I said, oh, I'm going to put that on the couch. So if I'm needing to kind of comfort myself, I've got some softness to bring me some comfort. And we're moving on to the next point, which is about gratitude. Binge on gratitude. There's lots of research projects that talk about enhancing our life by using gratefulness. Gratitude is part of optimism, us focusing on the goodness of life, what we're grateful for. Yeah, grateful. That's a little card I made one year. Grateful is you're grateful. Yeah. So little research project said that for people that did for 10 weeks, wrote down 3 to 5 ways or items of what they're grateful for. Are you grateful that you woke up this morning breathing, that you've got clothes? Are you grateful for your toothpaste? If you're not, if you don't like the taste of it, then get a different brand. Same with your soap. And when you're showering, do you love your shampoo? So you can just count all through your day what you're grateful for. And at the end of the day, write down 3 to 5 items that you feel grateful for. And people that did this experiment for 10 weeks, their optimism went up, they felt better, and they had fewer visits to the doctor. Very interesting. So there was an old man and an old woman, and it was their 50th wedding anniversary. Oh, that makes my marriage at 54 sound really old. Anyway, that was their 50th wedding anniversary. And the old man went to the kitchen and he prepared a snack for his darling. And he put in front of her a plate of crusts. And she began to cry. 50 years married and you bring me a plate of crusts. And he looked at her with a gentle smile and he said, oh, my dear, 50 years married and you don't know that the crusts are my favorite? Everybody's going, oh. So I believe everybody's doing the best they can and loving the best they can. And we just need to be open to possibilities of what we're grateful for. And here's one of those possibilities. I want to play a game with you around memory. Those old TV shows that we watched in the 1950s and the 1960s. Now, if you did not live in North America, the United States, or Canada, this will be a cultural experience for you. So don't complain to Maureen and me that you felt left out. Just kind of enjoy the trip. If you were raised in the United States and Canada and you had access to a television, I want you to take a piece of paper or in your fine mind, keep track. And I have a little something to share with you at the end. I want you to keep track of your score. Hopefully you're in a room with somebody. If you're in a room with somebody, here is how we're going to score this little game. If you're able to name the TV show, you get 1 point. If you are able to sing the opening, the theme song of the TV show, you get 5 points. When we finish this, we'll ask for your score. So hopefully you're in a room with somebody else. If you're not, sing to the wall or sing to your pussycat or your other pet at the opening line, and you get your, and this is honor system, right? We're using Zoom, so we're using the honor system. So away we go down, treating and being grateful for our memories. All right, so I'm just going to count 5 in my head. You're going to think to myself, what TV show was that? The Ed Sullivan Show. Look how many years that was on. 10 years is a long time. He was, yeah. I don't know whether you remember this Ed Sullivan Show, but it was when the first time Elvis Presley was seen on TV by my family, and my mother ran from the kitchen to the living room where the TV was, and she saw this gyration, and she threw the tea towel over my head, screaming, "Don't look at that!" What happened in your home when you first saw Elvis Presley gyrating? And eventually my mother collected albums of his because he had such a sweet voice. Yeah. And what TV show is this? Right, the Red Skelton Show. Goofy, goofy. And this one. Yes, I Love Lucy. And if you have not seen the Academy nominated movie, the recent one about Lucy, it's not very funny, but it's fascinating to have a peek into her history. I Love Lucy. And I don't remember the theme song to it at all, but if you do, I hope you're singing it. Oh, I just loved him. Just loved him. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? The Roy Rogers Show. And are you singing the song? I can sing the opening. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Aw. Another cowboy show. In some ways, they were so innocent, those kinds of cowboys. Bonanza, da 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 da. Bonanza. Are you singing with me? All right. And the honeymooners. There's Ralph. And this one. I grew up wanting my dad to be quiet, gentle, and supportive, just like Robert Young in this show. I used to cry watching it. Father knows best. Yeah. Father did not know best in our house. Oh, and a Canadian show that we loved for ourselves and then loved for our children. Yeah, The Friendly Giant. And who didn't watch this? My brothers had a crush on Annette Funicello, I think her name was. M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. Did you get it? Did you get it? Oh, doesn't your heart melt? Yes, you got that. You got that, Mr. Rogers. If you have not seen the documentary, Won't You Be in My Neighborhood? You might want to look for it. And then, of course, the Tom Hanks movie. You just kind of forget it's Tom Hanks, and you know, there he is, Mr. Rogers. Beautiful. Both of them are beautifully done, by the way. All right. I want you to total your score, and put your score in the chat box for Maureen to see. And just tell me, Maureen, who you think is the
I think
lead
so
here.
far the winner is Pam at 39.
Oh, wow. Pretty impressive
Mhm.
score. I think that's probably even better than me, right?
Yeah.
Unless anybody put your number in if you think you've got a higher score than Cam does. And guess what? The
And I
surprise.
don't know. So, sorry, Amelia said she had 27 for
Okay.
names. Oh, sorry, 27 total. Sorry, I thought that it was a different total. So she's at 27. Adeline's at 23. Geraldine's at 35.
Mhm.
And Pam's at 39.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right. So so our winner is Cam.
Yes.
Cam, you get a copy of She Said, a tapestry of women's quotations written by Patricia Morgan, and Canadian quotations have a little maple leaf beside them. There's over 600 quotations, and I will mail this to you if you email me at Patricia@Solutions for Resilience with your mailing address. And if you participated in this little fun exercise, just email me and I will send you a pleasant surprise. It might be an ebook. I have several ebooks. If you kind of let me know what you're interested in, I wrote a book called Understanding Loneliness, What to Do for You and Others. I also wrote a book called Understanding Trauma, What to Do for You and Others. Another one is 4 Foundations of Support, how to support people who need you to listen really well to them. And there's others. You can take a peek at my website, Solutions for Resilience. And if you see any ebook that you'd like, you want to email me and you participated in this fun exercise, I would gladly email you an ebook. Okay. Well, thank you for participating. That was super fun. And now, last but not least, let me just see here. We're going to do this. Lighten up, lighten up. Okay. Dollar store can bring a lot of fun if you're open to it. So what are some easy ways for us as we resiliently age? Let's be silly, you know? Getting older is not for sissies. So let's sissy up and just have some fun. Life's too short. My mom taught me this. Here I was in Alberta at the age of 40, and I would fly back 2 or 3 times a year to Ontario to spend 1 or 2 weeks with my mother. And every time I went, she said, bring me one of your silly props so that we can go visit. Now in her church, regrettably, they called the older people that didn't manage to get to the church service, the shut-ins. She said, we're going to visit the shut-ins. Not a very nice word, but we would go and see Agnes or Ethel or George and cheer them up. And what I loved about these little masks where they made you kind of lisp and we'd say, oh, Alf, you're not looking so bad today at all. Other times I would take something like this and we'd say, did you know that our family has a new baby? Her name's Darlin. And would you like to have a little hug with Darlin? So anyway, she just taught me that when you are full of joy, you bring joy to the world. And I love dress up. This is one of my grandkids, and she's saying, I know who's in there. It's my grandma, isn't it? My grandma's in there, isn't she? Oh, she just might be. And how can we brighten up the world? Well, guess what? People may not want to spend too much time with you if you look like this, right? There's people actually that wonder whether they're ill. They might go to a clinic or the hospital. If they're greeted with faces like this, they might decide, yes, I'm ill. Why do some children not want to go to school? Well, they may be greeted at school. This is a very bad environment, and it doesn't take much. It speaks loudly. And these are all people I love. Look at them. Look at them. There's my son in there, my hubby, some friends. Yeah, look up. It's this muscle. And I want to show you that again. I want you to notice that the nostrils, this has been researched. The nostrils are wider when we smile and you get more oxygen to your brain. So it's good for your brain. Son of a gun. Everything about up is uplifting. Everything down is depressing. Pretty simple. So about 15 years ago, my hubby and I had an amazing trip. It was a trip of a lifetime to New Zealand and Australia. And we went to see the glowworms. And when we were looking at the glowworms, somebody broke into poetry. I went, oh, I love that. So I'm going to share that with you. I wish I were a glowworm. A glowworm's never glum, because how can you be grumpy when the sun shines out your bum? It only takes, 1 or 2 little jokes to uplift the world. One of my favorites, which is got a hint of truth to it, is I've been married 54 years. And my hubby and I still do it almost every night of the week. And people go, whoa. And I say, yeah, almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday. And you're supposed to be smiling by now, almost on Wednesday. So remember 1 or 2, and with grandkids and great grandkids, or just even older people, a useful knock knock joke. Knock knock. Who's there? Maureen. Knock knock. Who's there?
Who's there?
Isabel,
Isabel who?
Isabel necessary on your bicycle. Right. So it doesn't take a whole lot. So I'll say this little poem again, should you want to use it to brighten up your circle in the world. I wish I were a glowworm. A glowworm's never glum, because how can you be grumpy when the sun shines out your bum? Happy, resilient aging.
That's great. Thank you. I lots of cheers for that. That was all great. Oh, we've got a few minutes left. I wondered, is there anybody on today who has a question for Patricia before we, Pam, did you have a question? Geraldine says, thank you. You're wonderful.
Well, if anybody wants to tell me any point that was helpful, I'm always interested for the next time, what is helpful.
Okay, and I did share your email address within the chat so that everybody should have it in there as well.
Right. I love sharing my ebooks. So I've got about 12 of them.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's one of my ways to keep my brain active is to read, and often then distill what I'm reading into simple concepts that might help other people.
That's
yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here with us again, and just so many great comments coming through about how enjoyable and refreshing your presentation was, and you know how kind you are, and yeah, and all of the advice and the tips that you've provided. And so let me just recopy your email in here.
Oh, let me, I can go back to the slide that's got the email address as well. That might be helpful. Hang on,
I'll just add it in again.
There we go. Some of us are visual. We take in information more visually, and then some auditorily, and many of us experiential.
Yeah.
And even better is all three. Auditory, visual, and the experiential. So so it's Patricia at solutionsforresilience.com. And if I can be helpful, I love sharing what I've accomplished or what I've noticed through my journey of these 75 years. Yeah. And I look forward to the next 5, 10, who knows, right? Right.
20.
20. Yeah. Seize the day. Seize the day. We know that each day we're a day older. So getting old is a blessing. Each day comes as a blessing, and it's how we spend it that makes the difference. And we don't want to participate in ageism ourselves. There's a term called self-determined, I think it is, ageism. That's making ageism comments. And I'm part of a project, by the way, called A Senior Moment. And it's got nothing to do with being forgetful. It's senior moments of wisdom and brilliance. Isn't that wonderful?
Amazing. Yeah. Where is that something online?
It's just being developed. I was to send a 60-second video. Now, my children have asked me with my memory challenges, how I can keep speaking. And I say to them, oh, honey, the reason I don't sometimes come up with the right word is I got 75 years worth of it in here. And if I can't think of the one because I got so many, I always have another one that can come up. Right. So reframing the positive is a very healthy activity. Otherwise, we scare ourselves and we activate our nervous system. And when our nervous system is activated, then we are not in a good flow, grounded, healthy mental health state.
Wow. Really interesting.
Yes. Well, Maureen, thank you again for moderating. You did a lovely job. Thanks for playing with me.
Yeah, I loved it. Lots of fun. Hope we get to do this again. And thank you everybody for taking the time to be with us here today. It looks like you enjoyed yourselves as well. Thanks, Patricia, and everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye.